Welcome to Toolbox Time. My name is Kristen Jordan Koenig, and I'm a GIS developer with the Kansas Data Access and Support Center. My email is listed if you need to get a hold of me, and this video is part of the Kansas NG911 GIS training video series to support the NG911 efforts with Kansas. If you need a copy of the toolbox, it's available at kansasgis.org. Today's video is going to walk through some of the steps required for adjusting ESB boundaries to the statewide seamless version. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to run the ESB adjustment tools inside our catalog. I've gone ahead and brought in the ESB adjustment toolbox into our toolbox, but you can also run the tools through the catalog tree. Just depends on what you like to do. We're going to be working with Anderson County's geodatabase today as our example. Looking inside their geodatabase, they have individual ESB layers. This tool also works if you have single ESB. Anderson County also has an electric utility as well as their own layer, which is a first response layer. So to go ahead and get started, we need to import our version of the PSAP boundary into our target geodatabase. Our data is included with the most recent toolbox download. We have inside the PSAP data folder a geodatabase with state plane north and south versions. So all we're doing is copying your PSAP into the geodatabase that you're working on. Drag and drop and click OK to start importing. I've had some issues with the video not showing the geoprocessing window, so I've set these tools to just display in the results window. For your purposes, you will be able to see the geoprocessing window as it shows up. So instead, we'll just look at the messages here. So this says, please manually inspect data before running the next tool. The PSAP boundary that's imported is going to be called PSAP temp. And this is what we've come up with for a statewide seamless PSAP, but you probably need to take a look at this in ArcPro or ArcMap to make sure that it's the specific area that you want to receive 911 calls for. You do not have to edit your parcels to this. This is not a legal boundary. This is only the area for which your PSAP will receive 911 calls. So to begin adjusting boundaries to this new PSAP layer, we'll start with running the Adjust ESB ESC Utility tool. Again, drag and drop the geodatabase, and we'll start taking a look at what it's doing. Instead of editing your base data, we're creating a copy of it and appending _new to the end of it, and that's where we're doing the adjustments. We're comparing those layers against the new PSAP boundary, and anything that overhangs gets clipped. Any places where there's gaps, those get filled in with these tiny little polygons. So this tool will automatically detect any ESB boundaries that you have, your ESZ boundary, and any utility boundaries that you have, and will automatically adjust those to the new PSAP boundary. And once it is done running, it will display a message of all the layers that it adjusted, so you'll know exactly what it processed. All right, and if you hit refresh on here, you'll see everything that was adjusted now has this _new appended on the back of it. Your original data still exists. This is the edited version of it. If you have additional layers that you would like adjusted, you can run this optional adjust other boundaries and put in your geodatabase and the full paths to any other layers that you want adjusted, for example, like this first response layer. Other counties have statewide or countywide municipal boundaries that they may want adjusted, or any other layers in the geodatabase that need to show that full county extent so that everything matches up. Okay, that should run pretty quickly. All right. So now that that's done, You will need to go do some editing inside ArcMap or ArcPro. We'll have another video on how to do that editing process to split these tiny polygons that are going to be at the border and merge them into their neighboring polygons. So instead of doing that here, let me try and release any locks that I had that messed up a previous recording. So let's pretend that you've done all your editing and now you need to get your geodatabase back into its original Kansas format. So nothing has _new after it. So we'll drag and drop the geodatabase and start launching that. This one may take a little bit longer since it's doing quite a few things. It is creating a new feature data set called NG9-1-1 _local and moving your original data into that feature data set. So we're not deleting any of your data. It's simply getting moved into a different feature data set and then renaming anything with _new as the original ESB or ESZ name. So it's just doing some reorganization. All the data is still there. It just is in a different location. This is also refreshing the geodatabase topology so that all topology is now on the newly adjusted boundaries and not looking at anything old. The downside to this is that it will forget any topology exceptions that you had marked before. So there will be another video series on how to remark these topology exceptions if that's something that you want to do. Since this may take a while, I'm just going to pause recording and I'll resume when it's done. All right, we're back now that Reorganized Layers has completed. So we'll refresh this to see the NG911 _local feature data set, and then all your original data has been moved here. And then in the NG911 feature data set, the adjusted layers have now been renamed to their appropriate data model names. At this point, you would run validation checks just to make sure that everything's good to go. There will probably be some new topology errors or things like that to work through. So since we all know that the validation checks can take a while, we have an example geodatabase, this time Dickinson, and taking a look at field values check results. So in here, and I haven't done any data editing on this whatsoever, most likely you will have, there are a lot of feature not inside authoritative boundary or these topology issue must be inside errors that are showing up. These are generally with the road center line, points where the road center line is now poking past the authoritative boundary, the new PSAP boundary. So after you've had a chance to look at these and make sure that indeed, you can either adjust them inside if it's a small shift, or if you want to mark them as exceptions, you can do this mark road exceptions tool. Again, drag and drop the geodatabase, and anything that is marked in field values check results will automatically become a road exception inside the road NG911 attribute table. So it's pretty quick. It'll just mark all those. And yet another quick example, you would have to run the validation checks again to make sure those are cleared out. But here's an example of what that looks like with all of the topology issues cleared out. These are other ones that will need to be addressed. Okay, so that's a really quick version on how to run the tools. Please be sure to read the documentation and see any additional follow-up videos on editing or marking topology examples.